Hey guys, I'm Steven.
I'm Giselle.
And we are also known as the Lover's Passport. And welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered Adventures. Today we have some very special guests on. They've gone from 42,000 followers after posting for a few years and then exploded up to 78,000 followers.
I'm sure it'll be more by the time this is
Yeah,
up.
they are killing the game. They actually won our 30-day challenge. So we're really excited to talk to them about travel, talk to them about content creation, and everything in between. But with that, let's go ahead and welcome the travel mentors. Welcome, you guys.
Thanks,
What's up,
guys. We're so excited.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
We're excited. And we were so stoked to meet you guys in person for the first time last week at our very first meetup that we did.
I know. Yeah, that was really fun being able to put a face to everyone. And yeah, I don't know why we didn't just have you record the podcast then, now that I think about it. But
That would have been a lot. I feel like we were really surprised by the amount of people that actually showed up. We had about 30 people come, all from the Creator Passport, and it was a long but amazing day. 80 degrees, Santa Monica Pier, Hollywood sign hike. There we go. English. But we all had a great time. We were just talking about before we got on the podcast about how sore we are from playing spike ball, but it's really cool to see how like Instagram communities come to fruition in real life.
yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. That I'm still on such a high from this weekend, or when it was, I feel like I still haven't come down from it. And I don't know if I will, honestly, which I feel like is fortuitous timing with this podcast. And then we just are in the process today of signing one of our dream brand deals.
So
Yay.
exciting.
Yeah, one of our very first brand deals, which we can get into, but it all feels like very just,
It's coming together.
fortuitous timing.
It's so fun to look back. We always say like we see ourselves in so many student shoes, or when we talk to you guys or other people in the DMs, it's like, oh, we were right there a few years ago. It'll be really fun to look back on and see how far you guys have come. We still reminisce and be like, oh, back when we used to do this, or oh, we used to do that. It's very, very fun time. You guys, I feel like as soon as you start to see that growth, it just starts to
Positive snowball.
Mhm.
Yep.
Totally.
Yeah, we're so excited.
Yeah. Well, how did you guys meet? I'm really curious. How long have you guys been together? Have you guys always been traveling together? What's kind of your backstory?
Yeah, you want to start?
Sure, I can start. You can fill in the gaps. So let's see. How did we meet? So we actually met. It's all kind of makes sense now, but we met in college. We had both signed up for this service trip to Honduras. So we kind of met through traveling. And it was our junior year of college.
Yeah.
And it was just this group of like student-led campus group that started in the fall and then went on a spring break trip to Honduras and worked with the village to install a well.
Oh, cool.
And so we really started our relationship kind of through that. And honestly, the rest is history. So we've been married for
almost 10 years.
Yeah. Almost
Oh
10
my
years.
goodness. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
We got married right out of college. We got married young.
Technically, she hadn't graduated
so,
yet.
yeah, technically I hadn't graduated. Yeah. Which is humbling because I was always like, I can't believe people get married right after college. Like, you need to go see the world. And then
you did it.
here I was like so madly in love that I was getting married technically before I graduated.
I love that
He
for
had to
you.
lock you down, you know?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what Steven's dad said. He's like, you better lock her down by the time you're in your like 30s and 40s. All the good ones are taken.
I know. That's literally exactly what my dad told me.
Right.
I love it.
Because you guys had already started traveling when you guys first met. I feel like that's a good indicator of how your relationship goes if you can travel with your spouse, like from the get-go.
Absolutely. And travel has been woven in just so deeply to the DNA of our relationship that it's so funny to think like 9 years into marriage, we really like started like 8.5 started travel mentors because we've been so passionate about this for all of our marriage and dating relationships. So it just feels like this very sweet kind of culmination of something that we've talked about since we were in college.
So cool. And then is there like where did you guys honeymoon? So back in college, did you guys end up going on any like big trip right afterwards?
Okay, this is so good because I am an avid listener of the podcast. And I know for a fact that you guys, Jamaica is not your jam.
No. We went to Jamaica.
That's our honeymoon. But that was actually strategic because we again got married right after college. Patrick had just started his first job and barely had any time off. And he was living in Illinois, and we got married in Texas. So for the wedding itself, he took off about a week of work, and then he only had like 4 days left the rest of the year. So we were like, okay, where can we go that's like close enough to Dallas? And we got married in March. So like there's not great weather in the US anywhere.
Mhm.
So
The Caribbean.
we're like, yeah, I know. We're like the Caribbean. Let's go to the Caribbean. And I don't know. I had a cousin who had just gone to Jamaica like a year earlier on their honeymoon, and they were like, just go here. It's great. So we just went to Jamaica, which was really great because, well, the trip was an adventure, but the travel was great because it was like a 2-hour flight from Dallas, super easy. Like it was pretty chill. And yeah, Patrick got sun poisoning on her honeymoon.
Oh,
which is
no.
the whole weather.
It was there were lots.
We laid in bed one of our like 4 days there, basically in a dark room, and I just watched the only English channel, which was Maleficent on repeat. So
That's a great story.
over and
Yeah.
over.
Do you watch that on your anniversary now? Because that would be a funny tradition.
Watch it
It's
since.
so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Yeah.
sun
So we did
poisoning.
Jamaica.
Where'd you guys stay in Jamaica? Because we only did Montego Bay. We said maybe we have to go back and attempt like Negril area.
We've heard other places are
but
much more beautiful.
I don't know if we want to actually commit to that.
Yeah, we have been joking that maybe we need a redemption trip to
We've not
Jamaica,
been back.
but no, we haven't been back. But we stayed at Sandals Ocho Rios,
Okay.
and it was just so funny because we're big Office fans. I don't know if you guys are big fans
Yep.
of The Office.
Mhm.
When Michael Scott, like the whole Jan Jamaica trip. So it's just funny. It's so funny looking back on all of it. But it's so sweet because I feel like it signified so well, like that time of we didn't have any money, like we were just getting married, we were barely out of college. So it's sweet to look back on.
It's honestly really crazy to see, like, reminisce, like he was saying, and look back at where we all started. Because, like, when we started Lovers Passport, we'd only been dating a year, and then COVID happened. And then we were just, like, sleeping in our car on the weekends. And that's how we built this business from, like, traveling, being crazy, staying up all weekend from sunrise to sunset, and sleeping in our car. And now we have a business out of that. Like, that's just crazy. What do you think about it? But no, that's really cool.
I feel like those travel experiences, everyone's got to go through them though. Like what you talked about Jamaica, that was the whole reason we started this podcast. Honestly, in the beginning, we were like, I don't know if it's just us or what it is, but we called it Unfiltered Adventures because there were places we go, everything would go wrong on a trip, or we'd go to a different place and we'd get absolutely terrible weather, or we'd go to some of these other places and we'd be like, okay, we have to make it look super beautiful because technically we're supposed to highlight this area, and there are great parts of it, but then like the behind
And
the
there's
scenes of the
photogenic
content,
areas. Yeah.
but the behind the scenes things is like the whole reason we started this. They're fun to talk about and fun to reminisce on.
I feel like with Reels too, like more and more, at least people have been able to show like more of the reality and unfiltered side of it. But I feel like when we first started this podcast, it was like not everyone was using Reels yet.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's fun. And you guys show a lot of like unfiltered tips and behind the scenes stuff on your pages.
they are the mom and dad of minimalist packing is what I've heard.
I love that title.
Gladly take that, which is great because actually our brand deal we're about to sign has to do with that. So
Oh,
Very cool.
even better. I'm so
Yeah.
excited that you guys are starting to monetize. So fun.
Yeah, very fun. So, and you guys are still working your full-time jobs too, right? So what do you guys do full-time?
So I'm in the insurance industry and work in like data analytics. So that's my 9 to 5. Work from home. I'm a hybrid worker, so I go into the office some, but mostly work from home these days.
Very cool.
I am a sports counselor, so I'm a therapist for athletes, which I actually am really passionate about. I love. So I feel like my two great loves in life have always been athletics and working with athletes and travel. So it's been interesting to be like, okay, now I'm in my 30s and both of these have like equally taken over my life. So it's kind of like, I feel like we're at that tipping point of maybe needing to, at least for me, kind of needing to really choose the path. But for now, yeah, it's been keeping me busy for sure.
I was gonna say it's hard to balance when you're in because you're probably in person, I'm assuming, job for that. And for me, my boss wouldn't let me, or she'd let me like go as long as I'd have like unpaid time off and I'd give her enough notice kind of thing. Even though I could do my marketing job from anywhere, she doesn't like that because she was a little older and didn't trust work from home besides COVID. So I've always found it really interesting when people are like Steven had to go into the martial arts studio and do everything and physically be there. Whereas I had a little more leniency if I wanted to like go off for a week and not work.
You could work it all. Like I always think of like during COVID, was your job like how much did that mess with your job? For me, I was kicking and punching in my living room, sometimes accidentally hitting my couch. So my job is like I cannot do it.
For me, it's just like, oh, we're going on Zoom.
You could legit like work from anywhere.
But no, it's cool that you guys are balancing both, especially with like both a hybrid and an in-person job. But I know for me, the tipping point was like I was just so burned out. Do you guys like typically travel just on the weekends? Do you typically do like a couple big trips a year? Like what does that kind of look like for you guys?
It's kind of look different every year. I would say we try to do a couple of big trips each year. And that's changed over the years. Yeah. We used to do a little bit more weekend travel, but as of late, and like especially getting out of COVID, doing a couple of big trips has been what we've been striving for.
Yeah, I feel like in 2022 we were doing just a ton of weekend travel. In fact, at the end of 22, I told Pat, I was like, I can't do any more like just quick weekend trips, like a moratorium on all weekend trips. Like if we're going to travel, we need it to be for longer than 4 days. And we need to like really try to settle in.
Slow travel.
So 23, I feel like we kind of swung the pendulum the other way and did a couple of really big trips. And then this year we're honestly like we're doing weekend trips and big trips.
Yeah. You found the happy medium.
Yeah. G, definitely. I feel like you had that conversation with me too, where some months it was like 4 weekends in a row. It would be like Friday to Sunday, we'd go out, come back next weekend, go out, come back.
Which is great. I mean, like, but when we first started doing that, because we were already doing that without the Lover's Passport, is just for fun and we wanted to get out. Once you add creating content on top of that, that's the thing. I feel like we've always preached on Lovers, like, hey, you can absolutely travel and still have a 9-to-5 in-office job. But, and I feel like the keyword is but, like when you add your content creation as a side hustle, now it's starting to get into burnout territory a little bit. Because when you're doing it every single weekend and you're batching all of this content, you have no recovery time. Or at least for me, like just because we were so in the grind and we really wanted to make it happen. Like we'd get back on Sunday nights, get up for work on Monday morning, and then just go back to, oh shoot, I got to go edit all that content from the weekend and go batch it up for the. So I totally get like how difficult it is to maintain a work-life balance when you're also doing content creation and traveling on top of it. That's where I feel like non-travel creators have a little bit of a leg up in terms of the work-life balance stuff because they could just create content from home.
Yeah.
100%.
Totally. Yeah. We were having so for the meetup in LA for TCP, we stayed in an Airbnb with 7 of us, and
I didn't realize it was that many.
Yeah, it was so fun. So it's us, it was hiking with hikes, or technically hiking with hikers. We just learned that.
I also just learned that.
So disappointing.
Yeah, Trevor and Riley, Josh and Andrea, the Getaway couple, and then Hannah Solomon. So we all stayed together and just like stayed up way too late. We were all like so just delirious from the whole day, but we had this sweetest conversation because I was kind of like, so like, does anyone else just wake up and immediately work and then work the entire day until the moment you fall asleep and then do it again? And everyone was like, yes, because all 7 of us like currently work full-time jobs and are doing content creation. So it was definitely validating, like, okay, we're not alone in this.
Oh, and you're definitely not. I mean, I feel like once we quit our jobs to do Lovers full time, it was great because we did that. But then once we started the Creator Passport, we're back to square one.
I think that at this point, I just think we like to work. I'm like, why do we do this to ourselves?
Well, I've had that conversation with Steven a lot recently. I think I just got on like comparison syndrome TikTok or whatever. And I was like, does it ever occur to you that like other people in their late 20s like turn off after work and they have like regular weekends where they're not building businesses and like they're not trying to be entrepreneurs and they're just enjoying, like what a concept.
What a concept. That's so fun that you get to like go through that with other people. I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't realize is when you're a creator, like you don't have coworkers, you don't have other people that you can like talk to, like this is what I'm going through. And we have a lot of
at least publicly.
Yeah, we have a lot of other friends that say like that's one of the hardest part. But when you can find community like that, it's so cool. I feel like that took us probably to like third year when we like actually found like, okay, we're traveling with these people. Like these are, and we chatted with them before, but so fun that you got to come and hang and everything like that. Very, very fun.
It's honestly been one of the most fun parts of content creation is building these relationships. Like that wasn't even on our radar when we started doing this. And then early on, we just started building these relationships. And now we've met, I don't know how many, half a dozen or more in person. Yeah. And it's so much fun.
It's so sweet too.
I first heard about you guys, I think from, you guys know Nikki Tomlin? Yeah, Nikki. So when Nikki moved in, we've had her on our podcast earlier this season. She was like, oh yeah, I saw Maddie joined your course. And I was like, wait, you know her? Like everybody knows each other. It's honestly, you think it's a lot of people. Everyone thinks the industry is so saturated, which kind of is. But when you get into a niche, like everyone, it's just so small and everyone's aware of each other. And it's kind of cool. But like, it really is just, you just have to put yourself out there and you're going to find some people that you resonate with. And it's nice because we were talking about this with Ben and Ty, like you kind of just, you know who they are because you follow them and you're like, you do all that weeding out of like, oh, are they going to be kind of weird, you know, because you follow them. So you usually have like a pretty good idea of who you're chatting with.
Yeah. And how long have you guys been doing the whole content creation thing? Because I know like when I first started looking at your page, you had already around 40,000 followers. So how has it been? How long have you guys been doing it?
So my birthday is the first week of April. Okay. So last year in 2023, it was April 2nd. And I was like, man, my birthday is in a few days. I was 30. I was turning 31. And I was like, dang it, I want to be able to say that I started this in when I was 30. And so I was like, Patrick, we have to pull it together. Like, I really want to do this before I turn 31 to like say I started it when I'm 30. So we posted for the first time on April 2nd of 23. So about 14 months in.
Okay. Really, really cool. And then do you feel like you've had community that whole time? Do you feel like it's like recently you really started to connect, or how did you guys start to foster and create that community?
So the very first actually, we were just going back and looking at our very first post, which is always humbling.
Oh, so humbling. I archived all of ours because I'm like literally so embarrassed.
I know, I'm like, should we take it down? I'm like, no, this keeps us humble and it's relatable and it's good for us. So yeah. So honestly, one of the very first people, I don't even know how we all connected, but the very first people who ever commented, I think on our very first reel was Trevor, was Hiking with Hikus.
Oh,
so
no way.
It was so funny. Yeah. Like 14 months later to be like, oh my gosh, we're all hanging out. So that was really cool. But I would say probably our first like real close content creator friend was Keeping Up with Kelsey, who's in TCP.
Oh, cool.
Kelsey Booster. Yeah. She's so awesome. She's like legitimately become one of my closest friends in the world. And we started talking last summer because I put something up about us going to the Olympics this summer when we were like in the bidding for tickets. And she was like, no way, I'm going too. And then like literally since that day, I think we have actually DM'd and voice memoed and FaceTime like something every single day. And we got to meet up in Prague over Christmas. So it's just been so sweet, but we're so relational. It's funny because we just did not know that this was going to be an element of content creation, but it fits for us because we are super relational and a lot of our friends and family are already far away. So like, it's pretty normal for us to already be kind of navigating long distance relationships.
Yeah.
So it's just been like the sweetest, journey with all of this.
I think that's the coolest thing about the travel niche in particular. Like everyone is so cool. And everyone's like always down to like meet up or down to just like chat in the DMs. Like everyone's very like open and friendly.
Not saying that other niches aren't.
But we have heard from other people in other niches that it's not the same.
And we've had a couple experiences in other niches that we were like, ooh, this is why we only travel with travel people.
It's so real though. I was just thinking about this in the last few days, like coming off of TCP meetup in LA and just feeling like we love our family and friends. Like we really do. We live pretty far from from all of our immediate family and a lot of our closest friends. And I think there's been this element of feeling at times like, just like to get real about it, feeling at times like we're kind of the friends who are expected to book the flight and go see people, which there's a lot of reasons. Like, part of me understands, like, a lot of our friends already have kids and there are just logistics. Like, we're going to go probably to where everyone else is. So I do understand it, but it's so refreshing to meet people in this space who are also willing to book the flight, like to come see you. And that's just been so refreshing. And so it's not a dig at all at our family and friends. It's just a different dynamic that, again, until we felt that, like, people who are willing to come drive a few hours across Germany and Czech Republic to come see you. And like Josh and Andrea, we were talking, the getaway couple, before TCP, and they're in Canada, and we were like, guys, you have to come. And they were like, an hour later, they're like, okay, we booked our flight. And I was like,
we haven't even booked ours yet. Yeah.
That's amazing. No, and I feel like,
yeah, it's so sweet.
It's nice to find those relationships when you know you're like both kind of contributing like that. I feel like the equivalent for us, not with our travel friends in particular, but with our like going on double dates and stuff, we found, because that was something we actually kind of not manifested, but like we hoped for like 2 years ago. I think we were like writing down our goals or something, and it was like finding more couples that are like down to do stuff, super chill, like also in content creation, that are just like,
all of our friends are very single.
Yeah. So like we wanted some other couples friends, and like we had Corey and Sammy on the podcast a couple weeks ago, but we had met them through Instagram, and they're not in the travel niche per se. They're like more lifestyle, but we had gone on a double date with them, and they had planned the whole thing. They were like, don't worry guys, we got it. And they like planned a Top Golf date, and we went out to this Mexican restaurant afterwards, and we were like, we always plan the date. We always plan everything. We always host. I was like, wow, this is what it feels like. Like, this is amazing. So it's cool that you get to experience that in the travel world too, because that's a lot more pricey. Booking the flight everywhere. You know?
Yeah, definitely. So it's just been awesome.
So cool. And how have you guys, but I know you guys, we talked a little bit about you guys working full-time jobs. How have you guys like managed it? Do you feel like it's like work in the morning, go to work afterwards? How do you guys balance it between, because you guys are a couple, so one of you guys can take some, other people. How do you guys manage all of that?
I'll just go on record and say it is not 50-50. Maddie's incredible, and she definitely carries most of the weight. But we're also trying to find our groove in that space too. So,
and we have totally different schedules. So you can speak to yours first, because mine's a little bit more fluid and complex.
Yeah. So I work East Coast time. So like my day starts a little bit earlier.
Because we're in Arizona.
Yeah, we're in Arizona. And so I have a little bit more time in the afternoon. So typically, like from a content ideation standpoint, like we'll come up, we'll brainstorm, we'll think through things together. Obviously when we're traveling, we're both capturing potential content that we can use in our reels. Yeah,
when we get into like these brainstorm modes, I'm like, I wish someone was just filming this, because we're like riffing off of each other like it's a comedy special, and like we think we're so funny. We're like, let's just write this down.
Yeah.
So it's fun when we get going. It's one of my favorite parts of it.
Yeah, but as far as like editing goes, Maddie is almost exclusively the editor of all of our posts, which is incredible.
Patrick made 2 reels last.
And they did not do
Patrick.
well. Yeah.
Last year, early on. Yeah. So no, it's super sweet though. So Patrick, because he works early hours, being on the West Coast with East Coast hours, he's typically done by 2. So he'll kind of jump in the afternoons with all of it. And then I am thankful and lucky because I own my own counseling practice. So I do set my hours. So they are fluid. Like I work in blocks. So some days I'll work morning blocks. Some days I'll work afternoon blocks. Sometimes I'll work evening blocks. So it's a little bit fluid, but I would say the typical workflow for me is posting, engaging, commenting, connecting, like just building community in the mornings. And then I'll go to work, and then I'll usually get home around like 5 or 6, and Patrick's kind of been working on some stuff. He'll make dinner, we'll regroup, and then I'll typically, because I haven't mastered batching yet, which we're working on, but I'll typically work on the reel for the next day, or like now we're adding in brand emails and pitching. So it keeps us busy.
I'll kind of handle DMs and like follow up on comments in the afternoon. Maybe go find some other posts to comment on, and
Cool. Yeah, I think that's so. I feel like in the beginning, that's definitely one thing that we had to really separate is like, okay, what are you going to do? what am I going to do? How are we going to accomplish this? Because we would be double commenting and we're like, dang it, you commented and I commented. We'd both like be responding at the DM at the same time and send, and they both messaged and we're like, dang it. Like there'd be like so many funny moments.
So real though.
Yeah, so many funny moments. But it is nice though that it's almost like in the beginning, I feel like G was our Maddie. She was the person that took care of everything, did all the planning, did all the editing. This was back before Reels. And then I was like the side character that was like her assistant. I was like, okay, I'll hop in here and be like, I'll help when I can. But I feel like once Reels started, that's where I was like, okay, I took all the video, and then it's been a lot more of a 50-50 or 64 every day.
It
it's
changes.
90-10 some days. It changes.
Especially this year, I feel like we've really separated out our roles even more because we've hired a team now, and we also have just kind of decided to step into like more business oriented, quote unquote roles. So like now, instead of both of us, we would always put like co-founders as like our titles. Like now Steven is like growth manager. Like he is the head of growing all of our socials, all of our revenue streams, all that kind of stuff. And I technically am the CEO. So like we've kind of really separated that out, and I feel like it's made a big difference in like knowing who's responsible for what.
Yeah,
totally.
I think we're kind of on the cusp of really needing to sit down and define that. So a little bit of backstory: when we first started, we only followed. So okay, rewinding the whole content creation thing. I know it was during COVID because we lived in our old apartment. So that's the only reason I can like differentiate this out. But the first content creator I ever started following was Chaz. I don't know how I found her stuff, honestly. I found her through the Lens page before she created Through the Leaves. And I found you guys through Chaz. So you guys were like the second content creators, travel creators I ever followed.
No way.
I know that was during COVID because it was before we moved into our house. So, but I don't know the exact timing of that. But so we just didn't like, we don't have anyone in our real life. Well, now we do, but back then we didn't have anyone in our real life doing content creation. So it was like, I don't even think we would have said we're setting out to do content creation. I don't even think we would have used that terminology. I think we would have just said, we're going to post travel stuff on Instagram. And so we kind of, that whole like rush to, do this and start it before I turned 31, like while I was still 30, we had these really kind of fast conversations about, okay, what's our goal for like year one? We'll just learn for 1 year. And we'd been following you guys, like you guys had talked about posting, like I don't think you had created Creator Passport yet, but we had learned enough just from observing you guys and Chaz to know that consistency was a big thing. That's like all we knew. So I like looked at Pat and I was like, do you think we'll get 100 followers this year? We had, I don't know. Like legitimately, I'm not just saying that. We had no idea. And when we posted it on our private Instagrams, we only had like 30 or 40 friends and family even come over. So we just had no idea what to expect in year one. But we had set out our goals that we set for ourselves for the first calendar year were to learn, to post consistently 6 days a week. And I don't know why I decided this. I just felt like this was an important challenge for me, but I didn't want to reuse any content. So
like you could reuse clips.
Yeah, but I didn't I think I posted like 340 reels or something in 365 days. And for me, like it was just an important challenge for my own discipline to like create something. Yeah, like to create something fresh, a fresh idea. And that was like all we did. And then as we started growing year one, it became like, okay, wow, I think maybe this could be a real thing. So then the conversation began, okay, when we hit our 1 year mark in April, then we'll focus on monetizing. So going back to kind of the roles of splitting things up, we started having conversations late last year about, okay, when and if it's time, like you got to take over the business side of this. So I think we're so on the cusp of that.
Yeah.
Very cool. No, I mean, it does take a while to like really get in your rhythm on posting and stuff. And the fact that you weren't really repurposing anything, that is wild. I mean, we originally with like photos were kind of like that because Reels weren't really a thing when we were first starting off. So we were posting original photos like every single day. But that's back when you could do like a single photo and still get a solid amount of engagement. Now you have to do carousels basically every time. So I feel like it really just comes down to, for us, figuring out how to portray a different story, a different concept with the same footage that you already have. Like I can take the same photo sets, for example, for like when I'm getting a post ready. Like I can take photos from like Bora Bora. I could do like a Bora Bora trip planning guide. I could do French Polynesia, like packing tips. You could do a compilation using that photo with a ton of other photos, do like top 10 bluest water in the whole world. Like there's so many different ways to take the same content and just like communicate it differently. And I think that's what a lot of people who are struggling to post every single day forget about. Like you can use it, but you just
like today I literally
differently.
posted a video and we had clips back from 2020, 2021, and we had one new clip in there. But I was like, dude, I have used these clips for almost 4 full years. It was
but you're
wild.
communicating a different story or like a different purpose. And I think that's the key. Like when we're talking about repurposing content, like that's something that you don't want to just like post the same exact video. Like you want to make it fresh in some sort of way.
Yeah.
Totally.
So are you still only doing that challenge, or have you decided to start repurposing?
This Croatia series that we're in right now, that we just started last week, we are doing a deep dive into Croatia, and I am kind of making fresh reels. Some of them I'm just pulling off like captions and updating them and stuff, and a little bit of re-editing just because we've grown a lot in our skills since we first posted it. But this is the first time we've really like done a deep dive into the same exact concept of a reel.
Cool.
So it's been fun. Yeah.
And you guys
it's
are
also
like,
been, a nice break.
You guys are coming off as like series king and queen over there with all of your like really deep dives. Like if you guys don't follow them, check out their page. But they like, if you're going to Italy, you just go to their page. You will find every nitpicky like question that you could possibly think of answered on their page.
Yeah. And what would you like? Obviously, you guys have grown a ton. If you were to go back and you were like on that April, right before your birthday, and said, okay, what would you tell yourself before you started posting? Would there be any advice, or like if someone was in your shoes and they're like, okay, I want to start posting, I want to take this seriously, what would you tell? What would you recommend?
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, we learned this from you guys, but like the consistency is so critical.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that like every once in a while, this year we might like take a break, or because of travel, we might miss a day or whatnot. And you can start to see like in our metrics, some of the impact of just kind of getting off of a consistent cycle. So I think that was huge for us in year one, is just sticking to a schedule.
Yeah, definitely. I think consistency, and not just consistent. Whoops. This is like me losing my voice.
Same.
We talk too much.
We woohooed too much.
Yeah.
Not just consistency of posting, but consistency of engagement, I think is huge. Like, I think even days where your content, it's so easy to be selfish in this because you're putting yourself out there. It's a form of art almost. Like you're making yourself vulnerable every time you post a reel because it's something you created. And I think it's natural to kind of internalize it if it doesn't do well. And I think pushing ourselves to get outside of yourself, and the days where your content's not doing well, like it's not always about you. Go engage with other people. Like there's still joy to find in the community. Like, and so I think balancing, there are times it's interesting. We've had some reels, like our Italy series blew up, and we quite literally couldn't keep up with just the comments on our own reels, let alone like going out and engaging with our community and like talking with our friends. And it was this bizarre feeling because I was like, wait, I almost like want this to die down just a little bit so I can like, go see like what all of our friends are doing and the content they're making. So I would say just balancing it and just showing up on Instagram in whatever way you can, whether that's building community. Like we're really passionate about encouraging people. So just go binge a bunch of stories and like go encourage some people. Like people always need that,
I love doing that. That's what I open the creator passport like in the mornings and I'm getting ready and I just watch everyone's stories and I react to all of them. And I'm like if there's if somebody posts that they have a sponsored collab or something, I will be the first person to go over there and just go watch everything, react to everyone, send a comment, send it to Steven,
hit all the links,
hit all the links, hit all the buttons. I think it's cool that you can literally make a quote, like, it's not big impact, but you can make an impact on a creator's day, content, performance for a brand by doing something as small as liking their content.
Yeah.
And also, I think there's a big disconnect too, and people expect all of the engagement, but if you're not putting that out, you're not going to get that in return.
Yeah, I like I feel like some people are always looking for a quick fix. And I love what you said, like, honestly, just consistency. It's not sexy. It's not like super exciting, but being able to just, like you said, every day, what can you do? Whether you're engaging with the community or posting something new or going on stories, it's such an easy thing. But I feel like so many people are always looking for like, what is the one hashtag? Or like, oh my gosh, did I like use this specific audio compared to this audio? It's like, relax.
Take yourself out of it.
Yeah, take yourself out of it. Like, this is a long-term game. If you're looking to like grow overnight, like one out of every million people.
You guys have almost doubled your following size, like, which is amazing.
I was going to jump into that here in a second, but really, really cool.
And I like what you said. I like what you said. Like, it's not all about you. That I think a lot of people forget that, because Instagram, you're posting on your page about you and your travels. Like, you can forget it's not all about you.
Yeah.
And like, if we're having a poor performance day, I love that you said, like, you can still go and support other people. I think that's something too that's nice about the content creation world, especially once again in travel. Like, everyone really is encouraging of one another, like, community over competition thing. Like, we can all get the same clients, we can all, help each other out, and it's like a virtual high five,
Yeah,
Totally.
I love that.
And then going back to what G just said, like, you guys have almost doubled your follow. And I went back, and on April 15th, we screenshotted every single person that joined TCP. You guys had 42,000, and now you guys are about to hit 80. By the time this airs, you guys will have over 80K. What do you think was like the big switch, or how did you guys do that so quickly?
Because you guys were already posting pretty consistently beforehand.
Yeah.
So like, what was the
besides
aha?
Italy? But
So there's two things. If I forget the second thing, remind me. It has to do with Nikki, actually. But the first thing was, so the timing of TCP launching the founders cohort was so funny, because I think it launched like April 11th?
I think April 1st was the last day.
Yeah. So like end of March, early April.
Okay. So the Reels Challenge, launched April. I think
that was April 11th.
That launched. Yeah.
I'm thinking. So remind you, our 1 year was April 2nd, and we had been pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And our whole thing had been like, we're going to make it to 1 year. We're going to learn. We're going to learn. We're going to go. And I hit April 2nd, and I was so burnt out. I was like,
I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, we hit a year. Like,
time to take a break.
Time to take a little bit of a break. Mind you, like, in my mind, a break was going from posting 6 days a week to 5 days a week. But yeah. I was like, I'm really gonna like let myself.
How it be.
Yeah. And then you guys were like, let's like so much hype around the 30-day Reels challenge. And I looked at that and I was like, I can do it, right? Like we can do it.
Like,
make it through
the year. We can do it for 30 more days.
Like one last stand, let's go. And then I'll take a break after it, which I still haven't done. But
Steven said the same thing after his first 30 days of Reels challenge. Then he made it a year, then 2 years, and now it's almost 3. So watch out. It's an addict.
It's how it happens. It's like truly if you give them out the cookie, but in real life with content creation. So yeah. But so that was kind of the first thing, was just really the Reels challenge for us was such a like call into excellence and like call into discipline that honestly we really needed. And we would not have done that because we were so ready to take a break. Mm-hmm. And I feel like being so burnt out and then having this huge push, because not only did I not take a break, we were posting 6 days a week and we went to posting 7 days a week. So it was like,
sorry.
Well, it's just so sweet though. It's a funny thing. Like we ended up obviously winning the cruise spot, and it was just, we felt so cheered on by a community in a time where we didn't even realize how burnt out we were. So I think that's a big part of what happened in the last couple months. And then the other thing, actually, we kind of attribute this to Nikki Tomlin, the one and only. I had gone on a hike with her in Phoenix in March, and we were just talking about content, and I was asking her what she would have done differently. And she said that early on, I think she had gone viral with her spinning videos, which are so cool. And she said, the mistake I made is that when I went viral and when things started getting traction, I should have just kept hitting my audience with that same exact thing, basically like tweaking it a little bit, but just like hitting it until the well ran dry. And I had just heard that advice. And I was like, God, that's really smart. And I just heard that right before we had planned 3 Italy reels, a mini series on Italy.
Yeah.
And they just took off. And it was like, I had Nikki's voice in my head being like, just hit them, just keep going, keep going. So this Italy series turned into like,
I don't know, 6 or 8 or
no, like almost 20 reels.
20.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then it was so many reels. And that all aligned with like the start of TCP and like rolling into the 30-day challenge. So it was just like all of this stuff happening at once. And that ended up being such good advice for us because, I mean, we grew like 30,000 followers in like 45 days or something crazy.
That's incredible. I feel like we almost did the same thing with our like selfies versus real photos. And
that was like the start.
Your Italy was like ours. We did one and we were like, whoa, and we did it once a week, every week for like months.
And they would always perform pretty well.
Yeah, they would perform great. Same. I think that goes back to like, if it works for you, like just rinse and repeat.
Don't
just
reinvent the wheel.
I feel like people always feel like they have this feeling in the back of their head, like I need to do something different.
Like realistically, the amount of people that see your content the first time that actually follow you, that will see the second or third time you post a similar concept is very small. Other content creators might, but you're not creating for other content creators. You're creating for like the general public or like your target audience. And that's not like your peers, you know?
Yeah.
Like our peers give us shit all the time. They're like, how many times can you use this one Switzerland clip or like Iceland clip that we haven't been back to since like 2021? But at the end of the day, it's like, well, it's working for us, so we're going to keep using it.
That's so true. We just posted a Croatia reel, and I don't know, I think it hit 1 million this morning or yesterday, and it's like 1% of our followers has actually seen it.
Yeah, it's all the reels that go viral for the most part, like, because I look at all of our analytics, like I'd say 97% of them are usually pushed to not our followers.
And it's crazy when you think about it, because we have almost like, we're pushing 900K now, and the only less than 1% of that is seeing your content. Is like,
it's like followers don't
wild.
even matter anymore, which is crazy.
Yeah, it is so crazy.
It is crazy.
But that's why it's like, it's such a wild west of an industry, man. Like people, like brands still price on followers, but I genuinely think in the future that's going to change. I think a lot of it's going to move towards engagement and like consistent reels views, and also just quality of content, because following no longer, at least on Instagram, it kind of depends. I mean, like
TikTok is like
TikTok's
10 times
even worse.
Instagram is the best.
Instagram, you can at least kind of get a consistent baseline of like, okay, like on average, my followers will typically engage like this amount on my stuff. But for like virality and stuff, you have no idea. And TikTok, it's like you could have 1 million followers and get like 1,000 views or something crazy. So you just never know.
Yeah.
Going back to the growth, though, we have noticed that like there'll be these periods of just big jumps, and then it'll kind of plateau a little bit, and then we'll hit the next big jump. And so in December, it was right before our Christmas trip.
Yeah.
I think we hit
10K.
We were 10K in December. And then it was like this big jump to 20. And we just were at 20 for like a really, really long time. And then was it 20 to 30? Once we got to 30, it felt like we're on kind of like this current
30 to 60, like pretty, but that was all the Italy and TCP 30-day reels challenge era.
Yeah. I feel like honestly, looking back on it, have you heard of the 80-20 principle? It's
Maybe.
like,
it's not like the 80% will love you, 20% will hate you kind of deal.
Kind of, but similar. So like basically 20% of like your Reels content is attributing like 80% of your growth. So like same thing with like your income streams. Like normally if you're a brand selling a product, like one product will account for like 80% of your revenue, and then the rest are kind of just like side products, you know? Same thing with like influencers, like usually most of the time 80% of your income is coming from like one income stream, like sponsored posts and stuff. So I find it very interesting that how that principle applies even to Reels, because you're going to find like, I'd say even just looking at our account, most of our followers probably came from like 50 videos, and we've posted over 1,000. So it's It's crazy to look at.
That is super encouraging, I feel like, though, for a lot of people. Like, if they feel like they're stuck, it's really just, like you said, consistency until you hit the next jump, until something catches wind and explodes.
And knowing it's going to ebb and flow. And I have to tell Steven this all the time, too, because he's attached to his everyday reels. But since I don't make them, I can be a little more like, get yourself out of it. But, like, there's definitely weeks where it's way, like, right now, we are on a growth spurt again. Like, I checked this morning, and we've grown 2,000 followers this morning since I checked when I logged into my email at 9 a.m. and it's now 4 o'clock. So like 2,000 followers in a matter of hours. So we know we'll probably ride this wave to 860, and then it'll probably die down a little bit, and then it'll probably plateau for a little bit, and then it'll go back up. And it's never a linear line ever. Like, I mean, if you look over 4 years, it's a linear line. But if most people are not that zoomed out of their business on social media. And I think a lot of beginners really, like, after looking at the Facebook group, if you guys aren't like super up to date with what we've been doing on the Creator Passport, we launched a 30-day Reels challenge to the public, and there's a Facebook group, and everyone in there, it's fascinating seeing everyone's responses in there, because they're so nitpicky on the daily following losses and like daily following gains,
like,
and stuff.
I lost 4 followers
and I'm
today.
like,
What
we
am I
lost
was
like
just
1,000,
oh
but it's
God.
okay, because it'll balance out. And so, like, really having the ability to zoom out and realize ebb and flows will happen as long as you're consistent. It's like the stock market. If you invest in stocks and you like never check it again, like, realistically, you're going to get like that 7% average out, right? Like, it's similar with Instagram. As long as you keep going, even when you think like your analytics are doing garbage, you're probably going to get a positive gain.
Yeah.
One of my favorite metaphors, just to kind of think through what you think it's like versus what it's actually like, is, if you're standing back, like, I think of Camelback Mountain in Phoenix, because we see it every day, but any mountain, if you're looking at it from far away, it just looks like it goes straight up, like a straight linear line up. But when you're on the mountain and you're climbing it, there are times where you're walking like on a flat surface or even going downhill, but you're always moving forward. You're not actually backsliding. If you're going downhill, it doesn't mean you're backsliding. It means you're still moving forward. You're just on level ground before you like reach the next climb. And it actually is not a linear line when you're on it. And I feel like that's definitely encouragement I want to give to people with this is you are always moving forward. You might not be going uphill, but you are always moving forward. You just have to stay on the mountain. Like, you can't abandon it.
Yeah.
That's a great metaphor. I love that.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Stop looking in the rear view and look ahead.
Well, let's dive into a little bit of your travel. If you were to give someone your mom and dad like minimalist packing experience 3 tips, what would be like the best 3 things that they could do in order to start packing more like a minimalist?
Such a good question.
Yeah, that's a good
I
one.
love it so much.
Because you guys only use backpacks, right?
We do.
Yeah. We only travel with our 35
I will
liter
say,
backpacks.
occasionally for work, I will bring a roller bag, but it's still carry on. I don't take it back.
Yeah. We're like, we tell people all the time, if you're traveling with us, you can't check a bag. Like, we will leave you. We will actually leave
I
you.
hate waiting for a bag.
I'll have Steven carry it
The
for
real
me.
question is, when was the last time that you guys ever checked a bag?
So my parents live on an island, which is hard to get to. So for Christmas, occasionally we'll have to check a bag because we'll like bring Christmas presents out there or come back.
Got it.
But
That's acceptable.
apart from Christmas, I really don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been years, like
I would imagine
7, 8 years maybe.
Because like with the airline that we travel a lot, you got like status or whatnot, and it's like 3 free check bags.
Like,
I'm like,
don't
this doesn't
use it.
apply to me. Like, how can I cash this in?
It's like flying Southwest has no benefit for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like, that's okay. No, but going to the minimalist
Tips.
packing thing. Yeah. So honestly, I mean, as a counselor, like from the psychology of it all, like I'm such a nerd for it. And one of the things that we are slowly working on is a very extensive minimalist packing guide that's going to dive into like the actual psychology of it and like scarcity mindset. And I think the thing with minimalist packing is I think a lot of people look at packing for a trip as a chance to bring everything you're going to possibly need. And I think we really view it as the discipline and needing less. So literally just having a different mindset is like, how like little can we need on this trip. And sometimes we'll just like, we'll pack really quick and be like, okay, as long as I have my contacts and like my wallet or my passport or my phone, like, okay, we'll just figure it out.
That's how I am when I like used to go over to Steven's house and I wasn't planning on staying the night or something. I'd be like, you know what? As long as I got contacts, I am good. And if you have that like mentality, I feel like that's a really good one. Cause I used to be like a really big overpacker. Still occasionally am, but I feel like we travel in a variety of places at once. Like we'll be in the tropics and immediately go on like some winter trip. And it's like, well, I kind of need everything. But I remember we worked with this company called Tripped who has like their compression packing cubes on Amazon. They're awesome. And we did like some work with them on filming like a UGC like YouTube video of us implementing their packing system. And it was like, you get to choose like your like favorite day outfit, your travel outfit, and any like if you're going on like hikes and stuff, like your extra like clothes, I guess. And it was so difficult for me. We did it for Japan, I think. That's what we had done. So we did a full week in Japan. So I only brought a carry-on because normally we have our roller bags for the most part, but Japan, I feel like it was a good place to have roller bags because there's a lot of walking and whatnot. And that was so hard. I was like squeezing, sitting on my suitcase, trying to zip it up. And yeah, but I feel like I've gotten better. But
you've gotten a lot better.
I've gotten better. I'm now working on implementing my capsule wardrobe for travel.
All right, there you
go. So that's a big part of it. Like we think about a couple other tips. We really started, I don't know what triggered it. I think when we discovered packing cubes in like 2016 or 17, we were going on a trip to Spain and Germany, and we were like, let's just not check a bag. Like, let's just bring
it was a winter trip too.
It was a winter trip.
Winter's scary though. Not to, I'm like, what about my jacket?
It was so funny though. So we just like randomly, we didn't even have like cool travel backpacks. We just had like random bags we found in the house that weren't suitcases
like
that we packed. Like just the most random bags. And we just discovered packing cubes and we just fell in love with it. And I will say, I mean, our system is down now, but it took us a couple years of travel in different climates and different types of trips to really know like what this was all about and experiment with stuff. And you can speak to like the research you've done on fabrics and material. He's like our gear guy. He's
I love
like
gear. Yeah, I love bags. I love like finding the right thing for the right purpose.
It sounds like you need to do some gear tutorials on your future blog or YouTube, you know?
Yes,
all right,
definitely.
we'll write that down. Yeah, I think though one thing that we're like still like you're talking about your capsule wardrobe. It's the importance of different fabrics, and especially if you're going to go somewhere that's maybe a little bit chillier. Like there are
Merino
fabrics
wool.
that merino wool. There you go. There's the plug. Like that are just better suited and help you or enable you to still be like a minimalist packer even in some challenging environments. So that's
and it really does make a difference.
That's good advice. I feel like most people don't focus on the actual fabric, but at the top of my head, I feel like my two main ones in my capsule right now, while I've been building it out, are merino wool and linen.
I don't even know what type of shirt this is. I can't tell you if it's cotton or I have my 5 things I bring every trip, and that's
Steven's
all I
a
need.
packing minimalist. He could go for just his Peter McKinnon camera bag, like, and a pair of shorts, and he's good.
And the red jacket. You can't
the red
forget
jacket,
my red
yes.
jacket.
Iconic at this point.
Yep. It also like go back to fabric. It can help when we do move around a lot. Typically on our trips, we're not in one location for more than a couple of nights, just because we love to jump around and experience different places. And so fabric that dries really quick, because if we're on a long trip, we're in a backpack, we want something that we can.
Do you guys pack jeans?
No.
I was gonna say that sounds like anti-jeans to me.
No jeans here.
They're just too heavy.
Yeah. So I think that's a big thing. I think, and the reality is not everyone is okay with this, which is fine. Like there are people in the fashion space, like travel plus fashion. It's probably just not going to work. But I think one of the things, like we had to let go of was, first of all, no one's going to know. Like no one knows if you rewear the same stuff.
Unless you have a bright red and yellow jacket, then everyone knows. But,
but like, again, you guys are known for that, and literally who cares?
Yeah,
like,
nobody cares. I don't.
At this point. Yeah. So I think that was something also with winter travel. Literally, it's under a jacket. Like people are just going to see the jacket anyway. So just kind of thinking through for us, that was the big thing. Like, oh, it doesn't really matter as long as we have clothes that we can like wash and air dry super fast. If something doesn't air dry in about 4 to 5 hours, we don't bring it. Like we just need like materials. So that's why Pat's done all this research into all the different materials and fabric.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have you guys write the packing recs for our Alaska cruise that we're going on in September together. That would be, I'm sure everyone else in the group would be stoked.
Yes, make sure you guys go. That they will be eventually releasing this guide, so make sure you guys go follow them, so that way you can get the guide when it comes out. All right, we got 3 questions left. They're kind of rapid fire. So, 3 favorite countries you guys have ever been to so far.
Honduras is really, really special just because of what we were sharing with our story. That it's like basically what brought us together. So that's always going to be number 1 for me.
I mean, Greece, Italy, and Croatia are
they're magical.
Italy is such a special place for us. And I don't know if we talked about this, but we've been learning Italian for 2 years. We're in Italian language classes. So it's just a fun thing that we wanted to do to challenge ourselves. So like we envision ourselves spending more and more and more time in Italy if possible.
So we'll go with you because we don't know Italian and I love Italy. But.
Yeah, but I love that region of the world. I mean, I think I would be content spending my whole life exploring Greece, Italy, and Croatia. So we joke too at the beginning of our account, should we be the European island people? But we don't live in Europe. And we don't go to the islands enough. So.
You could go to Madeira, Azores, Mallorca. There's so many Canaries. There's so much good stuff out there. I have a saying that I tell Steven all the time. I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to pack up, fly us and Karen out to Italy, and we'll rent a van and just stay there for like 2 months whenever I'm feeling stressed. That's the escape.
All right. What about 3 top countries on the bucket list right now? What can people expect to see from you 2?
So, this is Italy, but it's a region of Italy. We're going to Sardinia this summer, which most people don't. Yeah, I feel like that one's unique because most people don't really know what Sardinia is.
That's top of my list.
But yeah, so it's like tip top of our list. So we will be back in Italy this summer, but in Sardinia. And then we're hoping to visit Cook Islands and potentially Fiji, Tahiti, and do Australia, New Zealand next year in 2020.
Sweet.
All amazing options. Yeah, we were just chatting. Well, actually, when we had Ben and Ty on, they said New Zealand's one of their favorites. New Zealand's definitely one of ours.
Next TCP meetup, New Zealand.
That would be fun. Yeah, but they said they loved Fiji, and I was like, ooh, yeah. Cook Islands is also pretty high on my list. Anywhere there's nice, warm blue water. Honestly, I'm good. Catch me there,
All right, last question. This is the first question I ever asked G. I think so. But what is the most exciting thing that you've ever done?
The most exciting thing, golly.
You want to go first?
I need a minute here.
Okay.
I feel pretty boring right now.
Okay, I can go. I actually know that you guys asked this because
you're an avid listener.
We figured. My answer is kind of interesting. It's not necessarily like a textbook answer, but this is actually a huge part of my life, and how Patrick and I really ended up meeting was I was playing Division I volleyball. I was an athlete my whole life. I played volleyball for 18 years. So I was in college in South Carolina. I was playing Division I volleyball and had a lot of success with it. It's what I had worked for my whole life. I was the kid in first grade who wrote I want to play Division I volleyball. And
I said that too. And then I played volleyball for 10 years, did the club route. And then I tore my MCL my junior season. And I still played again, varsity senior year and stuff. But after that, I could only do intramural. I was sad.
Yeah. Oh man, that's rough.
That is sad.
So I was doing that, and after my sophomore season, I just felt like this just isn't it. I worked my whole life for this, and I just feel like this isn't, I've had these 2 great loves of volleyball and passionate about athletics and the whole sport culture, but also travel. And it was just I felt super lost myself. I just didn't really know who I was. I felt really lost. It just wasn't what I thought it was going to be from a fulfillment standpoint. So I literally went into my coach's office and quit and left after season and off season. And I just was I need to go figure out who I am and just explore the world and reset and really figure, because I committed when I was 16. And at that point I was almost 20. And I was like,
good.
Well, yeah.
Full ride.
Nice.
So I don't know, what you want when you're 16 is different at, almost 20. And it was just time. So I literally just left with no plan. I dropped out of college and moved to Thailand for a semester.
No way.
Yeah. And then ended up transferring my junior year into the school where Patrick and I met. So for me, and I mean, that changed the trajectory of my life in every way possible. And I eventually did play again at the other college, but yeah, I think that's definitely the craziest thing I've ever done.
Someone needs to make a movie about that. That's awesome.
D1 volleyball's intense too. I mean, like I used to go and like watch all the people at USC and UCLA play, and I'd go whenever I was visiting my family in Hawaii. We'd go watch like the Hawaiians play, and like I loved it. But yeah, I can't imagine doing it like full time in college too. Like that would have been a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. So that's definitely upending my entire life and being like, hey, peace out. I'm just going to go move to Thailand for a semester and
that's
just
iconic.
Figure it out from there. Is definitely, the craziest thing.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this one. I don't feel like I'm that adventurous, and this is probably not going to be that crazy for your listening audience. But when we were in Thailand, like several years later, Maddie and I went back to Thailand, and there was just this moment where we were with a group of people. I was in charge of getting lunch for everyone. And I'd never been to that part of the world. Like it was just totally eye-opening and everything. And next thing I know, I'm on the back of this like moped with someone I had no idea. Like we didn't speak the same language. They were to drive me to some place, and I was in charge of getting like 30 meals for
like
everyone.
On your arms as you're like on
like weaving in and out of Bangkok. So that's probably up there, but
that sounds wild.
I mean, I was having a time just getting 30 Jersey Mike subs the other day for the meetup. Like,
yeah,
wow. He like rolls up with like bags of food draping off of him. Like, I'm like, how did you even hold on to the bike? And he was like, I like squeezed really hard with my legs.
That would have been funny to see.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on our podcast, you guys. If people want to go find you guys, where should they go?
Yes, on Instagram at The Travel Mentors, and soon to be thetravelmentors.com. Patrick is working on our website, so we're super excited about that.
Live.
Yeah, we're super excited about that. And those are the main two right now. We're trying to kind of build those two out and then keep going from there.
Nice.
All right. Well, yeah, make sure you guys go check out their page. They'll be at 100K before the end of summer. There's lots and lots of exciting things coming from them. And don't forget, the best way you guys can help support this podcast is by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. If you guys enjoyed Maddie and Patrick, make sure to go shoot them a DM. Make sure to go follow them. Give them all the love on at The Travel Mentors. And with that, we'll see you next Friday with another episode of Unfiltered Adventures.